Welcome to People Don't Think. Let's Start Today, a podcast hosted by American Eagle founder Norb Svanascini and Al Edwards. Norb, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and be thankful for what you have, right?
That's exactly right. We've got 12 fresh months ahead of us, and what are we going to do with them, right?
We get a new present every day. That's why they call it a present.
It's exactly right. Exactly right.
And it's nice, yeah. Very
it sure
nice.
Is. I read one time that we've got 12 fresh months ahead of us, and what we do with them is entirely up to us.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, friends, we hope that you've been enjoying our podcast. This is now number 13, Lucky 13. If you have not listened to our other ones, we encourage you to do so. We talk about a lot of interesting things, at least interesting to us, Norb, right? But I think a lot of people have been enjoying our podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, I hope so. I mean, we don't talk negatively.
Exactly.
Hopefully we can instill in a few people to think more positively.
Exactly.
And because this is the beginning of the new year, I just read something that, a lot of people make a lot of promises what they're going to do in the new year. But
right.
Just do 3 little things this year to improve yourself. 3 things, whatever it can be. Just to say hello to other people or say thank you for no reason at all or whatever. But if you get those 3 little things going, you'll be happier and people that you deal with will be nicer to you and it'll be a better person. So just start with those 3 little ideas.
I like that. So many people get overwhelmed by New Year's resolutions that they just get paralyzed.
Yeah.
And if you just do 3 small little things, it could probably change your life for the better.
Yeah, right. It couldn't hurt anything. So,
no,
yeah.
Exactly. Well, in today's show, we decided, easy for me to say, to talk about something called universal law or natural law and how that applies to your life. And what is universal law? Well, basically, in addition to the laws of physics that we all are subject to, there are laws, it seems, in the universe that affect the human condition. And we're going to talk about a few of these. And I know Norb always has a lot of great stuff that he wants to talk about. But let's get started on those. The first one we want to talk about is called the law of correspondence. And basically the idea there is that life is a mirror. What is going on inside of you will always reflect what is happening outside in your life. Earl Nightingale used to tell a story of there was a father with a young boy, and the father was reading the newspaper at the house one day, and his son kept bothering him, wanting to play and everything. And the father thought to himself, well, if I get the kid distracted, then he'll leave me alone for a few minutes and I could read my paper. So he found a picture of the earth, of the globe, in a magazine. He tore it out, ripped it all up, and gave it to his son. And his son was able to tape back the picture in very quick time, very short order. And he said, my God, son, how were you able to put that together so quickly? And he said, well, Dad, on the other side of the globe, of the earth, there was a picture of a man. And he said, all I had to do was put the man together and the world came together. And
Very good.
I thought that's kind of an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, right. Because each individual is as important as anything else for the whole picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you think that is, Norb, when how you are emotionally, mentally will 100% reflect in what your life is like? What do you think about that?
Well, I think that, when you look at the world and there's 9 billion people, I always remember that, most people don't realize how unique they are. And, Al and I were talking about serendipity the other day, and we were talking about our own families and how all the things that happened for him or for me to be here, and how our parents met, where they met, the travels they made, and the amount of things that had to happen for you to be who you are. And most people don't realize, but you are a miracle that you're here. And if you look at that as a miracle, it's really something really to be admired. When you think that there isn't a snowflake that's the same as the other, that there is, and obviously there's more than billions in a snowstorm. There's probably, I don't know how to even say the number, but it's
Gazillions.
Zillions. and the interesting part about it is that each one of us is important because, whether we're for good or for bad. There was an old Roman philosopher by the name of Cicero. Cicero said something that I've always been impressed with. He said, in an avalanche, each snowflake claims innocence.
Wow.
And, by the same token, in a snowstorm, each snowflake creates that beautiful white view, So we're the same way. So we can create the avalanche, or we're very important as an individual, which is a miracle.
Absolutely. Old Cicero, being here in Chicago, I've been on his street, Cicero Avenue.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I think they named it after him.
Yeah, exactly.
So this whole idea of your life will be a direct reflection of how you are put together on the inside, your attitudes, your thoughts, your emotions, all that stuff. Norb, you used to tell a story. You've hired a lot of people in your life with the many companies that you've had. And you used to tell a story. I think of it as a person that owned an apartment building that when someone went to apply, the owner would sneak out and look inside the person's car. Tell that story.
Oh, yeah. I had a very, very good friend who unluckily passed away a few years ago, but he was a foreign-born gentleman who became, very well-to-do, very wealthy through real estate. He had a lot of apartment buildings, a lot of them. I mean, hundreds of units. But when somebody called to rent an apartment, he never met them at the apartment. He met them on the driveway or on the street, and he would look how they kept their car. And if the car was messy, he knew that the apartment was going to be messy, so he wouldn't rent to them. So that was his only qualifications. And he had very little trouble. He was very proud of that. And amazingly enough, I mentioned that to a lot of people that are in real estate and have tenants and apartments, and they all say, wow, what a great idea. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to try that. And a couple of them have told me that they have done it, and it works because if you keep your car neat, you probably keep your home neat.
I love that. And it goes back to the Earl Nightingale story of what I said is the little boy found a picture of a man on the back of the picture of the globe, and he put the man together, and then the world was put back together.
Of course.
So that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So the next thing I want to talk about is the old Newton's law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I guess simply put, you can say you get out of life what you put into it. And like many of these things that we talk about, when we say something, they can be true for good or bad. So Norb, what do you think about that old Newton law in life? For every action,
it's true. It's true. There's a lot of things that you read, quotes that stick in your mind. And one of them is, I don't know why this came to my mind now, but when you demand the best, you will very often get it. And, basically, I'm not saying you have to demand and go to a restaurant, I'm just demand good manners from people. Say please, say thank you, and we say this in every show, but the golden rule is probably the one rule that means more than anything else. If you have to pick one rule of having a good life, is the golden rule.
Treat everyone like you want to be treated.
Exactly.
Yeah. This notion, not only is it true in physics, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, but I remember listening to Zig Ziglar. I say this almost every show because I listen to him almost every day. I have a lot of his stuff on Audible in my car, and I do a lot of driving. He said, is it not true that in the next 2 weeks, you could do things to make your life and your job a lot better, or you could do things to screw up your life and your job real fast in 2 weeks. So the lesson there is everything that you put out into the world, every action, every effort is going to come back to you in an equal and opposite reaction. You send out good, you think good thoughts, you plan for good things in your life, and without a doubt, a great majority of the stuff that will come back will be good stuff for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, a very interesting thing, a study was made in Illinois at the beginning of the year that the state made, I don't know, the state didn't make this, but the receipts of pot sales in Illinois was $1.5 billion. Now, the state of Illinois has around 12 million people. So if you know a little bit of math, that I hope you do, and that's close to $1,100 per person for the every citizen in Illinois, including babies, including children that are smoking pot. I'm not against pot. I'm not endorsing it, but just think of that. Just think by adding this to your system, if this is going to have any positive reaction. You know, how will this mirror, you know, in your being? How would you look to other people? It's really kind of interesting that, you know, something like this has occurred because I was reading another article where you know, we're turning into Pottersville. And every one of you probably has seen It's a Wonderful Life. And of course, when Jimmy Stewart gets that wish that he had never been born, he sees that wonderful town of Bedford Falls fall into despair and into Pottersville. And all of a sudden he realized, you know, what a great life he had. And I think that that's something we should consider, is just look at yourself and be thankful for what you have. Don't get crutches in life. Just be positive.
Absolutely. And I think as we've seen, you know, cannabis, or pot as it's called, used to be called, has a lot of medicinal benefits like pain relief and cancer patients. But if you're using alcohol or drugs to escape or as a way to numb emotional pain, there are many more healthy ways to go about that, isn't there?
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, one of the things is that we have to remember this. Life is not fair. It isn't going to be fair all the time. You have to stop whining, sniveling, and go out and make it happen for you. Don't just sit there and you know, just feel sorry for yourself. I see too many people who expect, you know, the tooth fairy to come and solve all their problems. And it just will not happen. You have to, you know, I read one time that, you know, the one thing when they say you have to answer the door when it's knocking to be successful, something like that. What is that quote?
Oh, when opportunity knocks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But the one thing they don't tell you is that you have to get out and build that door.
Right.
Okay. And then get on the other side, knock it, and then get on the other side and open it.
Exactly.
That's what they don't tell you.
Yeah, that's what they say. If opportunity doesn't knock, build your own door.
Exactly.
And open it. Right.
So, you know, you have to be thankful for what you do have, because we all have problems. We're all, you know, all the same, basically.
Right. Right. And that's something you've brought up in the past, that this whole notion that people think that they're terminally unique, that they can't achieve things, or they have worse luck than other people. That really is false, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Not only this, but, you know, another article that I just read, which is interesting because, you know, it's kind of funny. Al and I not only do this podcast once a month, but I think we talk 2-3 times a week or send each other emails about stuff like this because we're really into it and we really like it. But there was a study in Geneva, actually, the University of Geneva, neuroscientists. Now, this is brand new, by the way. This came, I believe, 2 days ago. And it says, get hold of yourself. Negative thoughts speed up brain aging. And the scientists call it neurodegeneration. Now, Some people tend to be more emotionally open than others, but pretty much everyone has to face their feelings at some time or another. Negative emotions, anxiety, or the occasional bout of depression may be unavoidable in life. So this is very important. Don't think you're unique because you have depression moments or anxieties. Heck, I got them. Al got them. There's nobody that walks around 100% positive all the time. But fascinating new findings show how managing emotions can keep neurodegeneration and slow down brain aging. Just think of that. I mean, and this is proven, by University of Geneva, which is very reputable. And they made a long study. And actually, you can Google this, and it's very interesting to read. But basically, it's, you get out what you put into it.
Before the show, you showed that to me, and I said to you, this stuff we're talking about actually is true. Science and medicine continues to prove this stuff. And that's something we've talked about a lot before, and I just want to bring this up again if you haven't had a chance to listen to our other podcasts. There's a lot of so-called motivational speakers out there, and they mean well, and they're rah-rah and cheerleading and all that good stuff. But to me, if someone tells you that you're supposed to be happy and contented and positive 24 hours a day, every single day, that's absolutely unrealistic. All of us get negative. All of us get down, depressed. All of us get, bewildered or frustrated. But if you can just get back on the positive road as soon as possible, you're going to be so much better off than wallowing in that negativity.
Well, absolutely. That's really the key. I mean, you have to kind of fight it because I think we talked about this before. I think it's just natural for us to have worries and wonder about things, which you would consider negative. But if you look at it as we were talking before, that you yourself are a miracle and that you have this incredible world for us to admire and look, and that you have to kind of intellectually fight it. I'm not saying that you should say, I got to be positive. No, fight it intellectually. I'm normal. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I mean, a young kid on his first date, he's anxious of meeting this girl, or vice versa. And you're getting married, and you're anxious. And your first child, you're anxious. And if you're unlucky, you're divorced, you're anxious. But it's natural. It's natural.
You get a letter from the IRS and you're anxious.
Oh no,
right?
Absolutely. It's not a pleasant thing to get.
No, exactly. The next one, law of attraction. It's funny how so many of these things go in cycles. We're talking about principles that go all the way back to ancient times in the Bible, and Dale Carnegie and Earl Nightingale and Napoleon Hill, some of these old time guys. Now there's a new thing among the young people. It's called manifesting. Where it's about visualization, and you're calling into the universe for things to happen in your life, and they call it manifesting. And it's kind of a new thing, but it's really not a new thing. And it really is the law of attraction, which Napoleon Hill talked a lot about, and a lot of these guys. And basically it boils down to like attracts like. You get what you focus on, for good or bad. Norb, how have you applied the law of attraction in your life over the years?
The first thing that's surprising is that they call it manifesting, because aren't women insulted? I mean,
People-festing, is that what we should call it?
And I think this is one thing we should talk about. I don't think we have touched much of this subject, but I think one of the key to happiness and being positive is just to laugh more.
Right.
Laugh at everything. We're all comical characters. We really are. When you look at a rhinoceros, for example, or a hippopotamus, you think, God, what an ugly animal. maybe they feel the same way
Right.
about us.
Right.
Maybe they look and they say, look at these humans. What a weird people. They're standing on two legs. They got this big head on their with two eyes. The males lose their hair, and the women, wear these funny dresses. It's ridiculous. So put humor into your life. About everything. Everything is humorous in life. We're all really kind of a joke when you think about it,
That is so true. And by the way, so now we know, folks, that when you're at the zoo and that hippopotamus is blankly staring at you, he or she is actually thinking, my God, how do you get through life being so ugly? Right?
Yeah,
and we're saying the same thing about them.
I used to collect old jokes from two magazines, Look and Post, which were very popular at one time. Now they're gone. But they used to have cartoons that were really funny. And one of the ones that I actually clipped and kept is there's two hippopotamus. And I guess, you can't tell the male or female, but one of them is looking at the other one. And one of them says, has anybody ever told you how beautiful you look? It's just a really funny thing because, to them, why aren't we appealing to a hippopotamus? Why is only a hippopotamus appealing to a hippopotamus? So
because like brings like.
And I think that's part of being positive is to have a wondering mind. Like a kid never stops asking why. Don't lose that. Why shouldn't you say why? Why are you doing this? Why is it that we're only attracted to the human form? If you look at a beautiful girl and you say, wow, what a beautiful girl, we humans are the only ones that appreciate that.
Right.
A dog doesn't say that about a human or a horse. So we come equipped with some traits to admire these things. We're programmed in a way, and we should be happy for that.
And we could see, if we only opened our eyes, we could see the beauty in all things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Unless hippopotamus.
Including hippopotamus.
That's a tough one.
I still can't spell hippopotamus, by the way, and I have a college degree. Maybe I should work on that. I think there's an H and a couple of P's in the beginning, but the rest of it throws me off. Let's talk about laughter. You and I have known each other for a very long time. We laugh a lot. We have a lot of fun. I'm always looking for comical things, funny things, trying to be creative. And the world has gotten so serious that everybody is so insulted now about everything. Lighten up, people, and laugh. It's actually, do you know when you laugh, you actually release like serotonin and dopamine in your brain, and it gives you a sense of ease and comfort.
Absolutely. In fact, this article that I don't want to bore you with all the technical stuff that I was mentioning from Swiss University of Geneva, it talks about that. And it talks about how study authors explain these results indicate better management of negative emotions is very, very important to have a more positive outlook on life. And actually, they actually are very, very importantly state that they do not have proof that being positive prevents dementia or Alzheimer's, but they truly believe that, being positive does help in that area. Definitely extends life. We've talked about this before. Positive-minded people live on the average of 4 years more than people that are not optimistic.
Right. I was watching YouTube the other day. Jay Leno had a lady that was 100 years old, and she was on the show. And he said to her, what are the secrets of living to 100? And the first thing she said was, think positive.
Well, it's true.
It's not an accident that she said that.
Yeah. And you hate to repeat the same thing in these shows, but I think some of them are important that you have to. It doesn't cost anything to be positive. Nothing. You don't have to pay somebody to say be positive. You can just accept it. And if you think something's negative, well, thank God for Think of Jimmy Stewart. It's a Wonderful Life. Just think if you hadn't been here, you are here. You're a miracle. Be thankful for that. It's nobody gets out of this thing alive, and we've talked about that before. Be happy about it. Enjoy it. Enjoy the trip. It's a hell of a trip.
It really is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second, Jimmy Stewart in that movie. As everyone knows in the movie, he becomes very emotionally despondent and wonders if his life was ever worth it and what would have happened if he had never been born. And of course, we see throughout the movie that a lot of bad things had happened. Norb, why do you think we all tend to underestimate our own value or the good we bring to the world, would you say?
Well, another thing, I clip a bunch of stuff here that I want to share with all of you is, and I think this answers your question. I'm reading from a book, which is a very old book. It's about 25 years old. It says, "If I knew then what I know now." And it's just a really great book full of great quotes and sayings. But to answer your question, you're only able to go as far as your self-esteem will let you. We all limit ourselves. Our own self-image, learned through example or experience, is what stops us. It's a sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we don't think we can, we won't. They don't teach self-esteem in school. You alone are in charge of recognizing and accepting your attitude about yourself. And that's really what we're talking about. Don't listen to other people. Some people criticize you. They talk behind your back or anything. Let them. What the hell? If that's what they worry about, let them do it. Just be happy. Smile. Gene Kelly had a famous movie where he sang "Singing in the Rain," and it's a very famous scene where, through an incredible downpour, he's just singing and with this umbrella, singing in the rain. And I think that's what you got to do in life. You got to sing through the rain, I really do.
Yeah, he was a hell of a dancer, wasn't he?
Oh, my God, yeah.
Unbelievable. Norb, what do you think the difference is between arrogance and self-confidence?
Well, arrogance is I think, is pretty easy to define. Is when a guy feels that, he's better than you, and he walks around, struts like a rooster in the morning, and looking at his chickens, and he actually has a right to be arrogant, but most humans don't. I mean, that's just being, we don't use any crude words here, but it's really kind of a real jerk,
right?
And self-confidence is somebody that portrays himself or herself as being a person with confidence about what they're doing, whatever they're doing. I mean, I don't care if you're a janitor, but if you do a good job and you don't leave any dirt on the floor and you admire it after you've done it, you've done a good job. The Japanese are an incredible, interesting group of people. It's a great, great society. I've been there many years, and in fact, I'm going again in a couple of months. But, the Japanese society respects any kind of job that anybody has. If a guy sweeps the street, he is respected because he's expected to do a good job, and he's also fulfilling a social need to have a neat country that they're proud of. And if you've been to Japan, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I would really highly recommend it if you ever have the chance, because it's just a wonderful country, wonderful people, and they're just nice. I'm not saying that everybody's polite, but I can assure you that if you compare it to the rest of the world, the percentage is a lot greater. One of the interesting facts about, they have an incredible subway system, just unbelievable. And when you go there and you look, they have these diagrams, which looks like, something outside of the universe or something so complicated. And of course, everything's in Japanese, and you go, what the heck, where am I going to go? So within 30 seconds, and I'm not making this up because I've done it many times, within 30 seconds, somebody comes to you wanting to help you. And it's usually a young girl, because in Japan, every high school kid knows English. They're taught English. And boys are not as readily to volunteer as girls, but usually a young girl, high school age,
Yeah.
In broken English says, "Can I help you?" And it's just such a nice feeling, because I've lived in Chicago all my life, and there were times where there were people on the subway here that were from other countries, and they're looking at a map like if they're lost. And I always tell them, "Can I help you?" And they're so appreciative, they're so happy afterwards that I'm happy. And again, it's just like the golden rule, in Japan, that's the way I'm treated. And that's the way I like to treat people when they come to Chicago, which for them is a foreign place. So they want to go to museums, they want to go to this place or this other place. I'm able to do it. I'm happy to do it. So
I was just thinking that is like the golden rule as a culture.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very much. But they respect each other, whatever they do. They don't look at a guy that's a janitor as inferior to the president of a company. Okay, they have their own, what we consider the Western world odd things. They have more separation of races and things like that, and
right,
and they're more respectful to each other. They all, it's just a different society, but very, very interesting, very nice.
There's no doubt. And, we're talking about attracting into your life what you want the most by putting it out in the world. Thought is just the beginning, but there's also a law of inspired action, that you have to take action in your life to achieve the things that you want. It all begins in thought, but if you want to get more healthy, lose weight, achieve a degree, get a certain job, whatever it has to do, you have to take the action. The thought comes first, and the thought will drive your action, but you have to take the action to do whatever it is you want to accomplish.
Absolutely. And it's, again, repetition. We talked this before, I think in either the first or second show we did, is that you have to tell a kid 2,000 times to say thank you or please before he does it automatically. And it's like a dog, we're basically animals, and we have to be taught. And the one thing about positive mental attitude, you've got to do it yourself. You got to do it. So you got 2,000 times to say, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be positive. Pretty soon, it's automatic. It's automatic.
Yeah, and that brings up something real quick before we close that we've talked about before, self-talk affirmations. They say take a list of 10 adjectives of the person you want to be, and you're probably already a lot of those. But every morning before you leave, just say, you sit down and say, I, Fred Jones, am an honest, capable, dependable, humble, hardworking, frugal, all the things you want to be. And your subconscious will actually take over. And before you know it, like you said about the training to say thank you, you will start behaving like all those things. And you didn't even have to really do anything. Your subconscious mind will drive that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's, our mind is, again, like dirt. Whatever you put in it, it will give you back in vast quantities.
Abundantly.
So be nice, be positive. And if you have an equal sign after those two things, it's just happiness.
Absolutely. I love that. And I'll end with a famous quote that we've said before about Henry Ford. He said, if you think you can do something, you're right. And if you believe that you can't do something, you're also right.
Absolutely.
And I think old Henry had it right on the money there. So, yeah. Well, believe it or not, we've come to another end of time. We wish we could do a Ken Burns documentary length podcast, although we'd probably lose a lot of people at about hour 3, probably. You and I would still be enjoying it. But friends, I think if you've noticed, our common theme here is life is a gift. It's a beautiful thing. Think positively, take action, around the things you want in your life, and you truly will get back what you put out in all areas of life. There's no exceptions to that whatsoever. So,
and you are a miracle, so appreciate it as such. You are a miracle.
Absolutely. Thank you, Norb, as always. Looking forward to our next podcast. Thank you so much. And for Norb Svanascini, this is Al Edwards. And as Norb says, be thankful every day, because every day is a gift, and that's why they call it the present. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.